The dazzling lights illuminated the set of the Great American Debate, where millions of viewers across America were glued to their screens awaiting a historic showdown. Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary, sharp and fiercely loyal to the MAGA movement, were preparing to face off against Taylor Swift, a global music icon stepping into the political arena for the first time. Leavitt, in a deep blue suit, exuded confidence as a rising political star. She was ready to defend Donald Trump's values with intelligence and wit. Across from her, Swift, in an elegant white dress, carried the influence of millions of fans known for emotional speeches on women's rights and the environment. She faced a daunting challenge, debating a seasoned politician. The host, a veteran journalist, energized the crowd. Tonight, we witness a highly anticipated clash: politics versus culture, conservative versus liberal. The audience roared, but tension was palpable. MAGA supporters expected Leavitt to teach the pop star a lesson, while Swift's fans believed she had overpowered with emotion. As Swift flashed a determined smile and Leavitt jotted quick notes, the audience knew this debate would be explosive. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. The stage lights dimmed and applause from the audience at the Great American Debate gradually faded. The host, with professional smile, stepped to the center, voice booming, "Welcome to this historic debate. Tonight, Karoline Leavitt and Taylor Swift will face off on 4 hot topics: women's rights, misinformation, climate change, and audience questions. Let's begin." The crowd cheered, shouts from MAGA supporters and Swift fans blending into an electric atmosphere. Social media erupted with posts like "Taylor will inspire" and "Karoline will crush her." The host turned to Taylor Swift, signaling Miss Swift. The first topic is women's rights. Your stance. Swift stood, her white dress shimmering under the lights, eyes brimming with determination. She took a deep breath, her voice steady, as if singing an emotional ballad. "Thank you for this opportunity. Women's rights aren't just an issue, they're the foundation of a just society. I've seen young girls look in the mirror searching for role models who believe they can do anything, but when they hear insults or policies restricting women's freedom, it hurts them. I've encouraged millions to register to vote, especially young women, to fight for equality. We need leaders who respect women, not diminish them." Swift raised her hand for emphasis, and the audience, especially young women, clapped enthusiastically. A girl held up a "Taylor for Equality" sign, phones lighting up across the stands to record. The host nodded, turning to Karoline Leavitt. "Miss Leavitt, your response." Leavitt, in her deep blue suit, smiled confidently, her sharp eyes glinting. She stood adjusting her mic with the calm of a seasoned politician. "Taylor, I truly admire your passion," she began, her voice gentle but incisive. "I love Fearless, great song, but I don't need a song to prove women's strength because I live it every day." The audience laughed loudly, some MAGA supporters cheering. Swift raised an eyebrow, clearly not expecting Leavitt's humor. Leavitt continued, her tone growing serious. "Taylor talks about equality, and I agree women deserve respect, but let's look at reality. At 27 and the youngest White House press secretary in history appointed by President Trump, that's proof this administration gives women opportunities. Women's rights aren't just words, they're about creating a strong economy and stable security so women can thrive. Under Trump's administration, women's unemployment hit a record low before the pandemic per the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's how we empower women, not with slogans, but with action." Leavitt finished, raising her hand lightly, and the audience applauded, especially conservatives. A man in a MAGA hat shouted, "Karoline, awesome." Swift looked slightly surprised, but quickly requested a rebuttal. "Karoline, I'm glad for your success, but one example doesn't represent everyone. Women still face inequality in wages, health care, and personal freedoms. I met single mothers, young girls threatened by policies restricting their rights. We need leaders fighting for all women, not just a few." Swift's voice was emotional, but lacked specific data, causing some audience members to whisper, as if expecting more arguments. Leavitt smiled, as if anticipating this response. "Taylor, I respect your heart, but heart doesn't solve inequality. You talk about disadvantaged women. I agree we need to support them, but Trump's administration increased funding for women's vocational training, helping thousands of single mothers. You mentioned find stable jobs, health care. We lowered drug prices, making medical services more accessible for women. Do you have data proving the policies you support actually work?" Leavitt tilted her head, her tone lightly sarcastic. "Or are you just going to write a song about it?" The audience burst into laughter, even some neutrals chuckling. Swift blushed, clearly caught off guard by Leavitt's sharpness and humor. The stage lights focused on the host, who smiled brightly, raising a hand. "What an electrifying start. Now we dive deeper into women's rights. Miss Swift, you have 90 more seconds to make your case." The audience cheered, some holding Taylor for Equality signs, while MAGA supporters whispered, awaiting Leavitt's response. On X, posts exploded with Leavitt versus Swift. One user writing, "Taylor need to bring fire to this round." Taylor Swift stood, her white dress sparkling, eyes blazing with determination. After a moment of hesitation, she adjusted her mic, her voice trembling slightly but quickly regaining confidence. "Women's rights are the heart of the fight for justice. I travel the world meeting young girls dreaming of becoming doctors, artists, leaders, but they are held back by outdated policies and insults from leaders. Women make up half the population, yet we still earn less than men 82 cents for every dollar per recent studies. We must protect personal freedoms from healthcare to choice. I'm here to say it's time for leaders who respect all women, not just a few. Swift finished, her voice soaring like a powerful chorus. The audience, especially young women, applauded loudly. A girl shouted, "Taylor, we love you." Cameras panned the crowd, capturing emotional faces. The host nodded, turning to Leavitt. "Miss Leavitt, your turn." Karoline Leavitt, still smiling confidently, stood, her sharp eyes gleaming under the light. She tapped her pen lightly on the table as if prepared for this moment. "Taylor, I'm truly moved by your passion," she began, her voice gentle but cutting. "You sing about feminism in The Man I Love, that song. But I don't need a music video to prove women are strong, because I live it every day in the White House." Leavitt shifted to a serious tone, stepping forward to command attention. "Taylor talks about inequality, and I agree women deserve fair treatment. But let's face reality. I need to say this again. At 27 and the youngest White House press secretary in history appointed by President Trump, that's not an exception, as you claim. It's proof this administration gives women opportunities. You mentioned the wage gap of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Under Trump's pre-pandemic administration, the gender wage gap narrowed to its lowest in 20 years. Why? Because we focus on the economy, creating 7 million jobs, over half. For women, women's rights aren't just about choice, they're about good jobs, safe families, and a stable future." The audience applauded, some neutrals nodding, impressed by Leavitt's data. Swift frowned, requesting a rebuttal. "Caroline, you talk about personal success, but millions of women don't have your opportunities. Conservative policies have cut funding for women's health care, making it harder for single mothers. I've met them, heard their stories. We need action to protect all women, not just those at the top." Swift's voice was emotional, but still lacked specific arguments to counter Leavitt's data. Some audience members whispered as if feeling Swift was repeating emotions rather than offering solutions. Leavitt smiled. She stepped closer to the mic, her voice low but sharp. "Taylor, I respect the stories you've heard, but stories don't pay bills. You talk about healthcare. Trump's administration lowered drug prices, helping millions of women access medical services at lower costs. You mentioned single mothers. We increased funding for vocational training, helping over 300,000 women find stable jobs for the Department of Labor. The liberal policies you support, they raise taxes and prices, burdening the very mothers you talk about. Women need real action, not vague promises." Leavitt raised a hand for emphasis, and the audience erupted, especially conservatives. A man shouted, "Caroline, she's done." Swift tried to counter, her voice rising. "Caroline, you talk about data, but data doesn't tell the whole story. Women feel disrespected when leaders call them insults. I want a future where my daughter doesn't have to hear that." But Swift's words were cut off by the time buzzer. The host intervened. "Time's up, Miss Swift." Miss Leavitt, final response. Leavitt smiled, tilting her head as if weighing her words. "Taylor, I agree words matter, but actions matter more. Women like me, like millions out there, don't need leaders singing about feminism. We need leaders creating job security and opportunities. You want to write a song for your daughter. I want to write policies so my daughter has a real future." The audience exploded, applause thundering, even some neutral standing. Swift sat, her eyes showing unease, hands unconsciously smoothing her dress. The host laughed, raising a hand. "What a thrilling first round. Well moved to misinformation." After a 1-minute break, Miss Leavitt, final response. Leavitt smiled, her voice calm but sharp. "Taylor, your album sells millions, and I admire that, but politics isn't a stage. It needs truth, not just emotion. You want to save the planet. I want to save both the planet and the American people." The audience stood, applauding loudly. Even some neutrals swept up on X. #Leavitt destroy. Swift trended #1 with posts like "Caroline just knocked her out," and "Taylor needs data, not just passion." The host raised a hand, laughing. Round 3 was epic. Well moved to audience questions. After a 1-minute break, some held Swift for truth signs, but others began cheering Leavitt. Swift sipped water, her eyes showing determination, but the pressure clearly weighing. Leavitt, in contrast, sat smiling confidently. This was a moment she truly destroyed Swift. The audience at the great American debate was still buzzing, applause and cheers from the climate change round echoing. The host, with explosive energy, rushed to the stage, raising the mic like a boxing announcer. "Audience, where the final round questions from you, Miss Swift." Miss Leavitt ready. The crowd roared, lights shifting to a fiery red, amplifying the fierce atmosphere. The host held a stack of question cards, turning to the audience, who's asking first. A young woman in a Swifty shirt raised her hand. The host invited her to stand. "Miss Swift, I'm a fan. How can pop culture promote unity in politics?" Swift smiled, as if energized by her fans. She stood, adjusting her mic, her voice warm but determined. "Thank you for the great question. Pop culture, music, movies has the power to connect people. I've seen millions from all walks of life sing along to my song, share their stories. We can use art to encourage dialogue, break barriers, and build unity. I want politics to learn from that. Listen, empathize, and move forward together." Swift raised her hand, and the audience applauded, especially used holding Swift for unity signs. A camera caught Swift's face, her eyes bright with hope. The host turned to Leavitt. Miss Leavitt, your response? Karoline Leavitt, in her deep blue suit, stood, her confident smile unwavering. She twirled her mic eyes sharp. Taylor, I love how you connect people through music. She began, her voice gentle but incisive. Reputation is a killer album, but unity can't just be a song. Right? Pop culture inspires, but it doesn't pay bills or keep jobs. Real unity comes from policy, creating jobs, lowering prices, and ensuring security. Under Trump's administration, we created 7 million jobs pre-pandemic per the Bureau of Labor Statistics, helping families from all walks. That's real unity. Taylor, you want to write a song about unity. I want to write policies so Americans don't have to choose between food and fuel. Leavitt raised her hand, her voice firm. The audience applauded loudly, some neutrals nodding. A man shouted, Karoline, exactly. The host moved to the next question, inviting a middle-aged man in a mega hat. Leavitt, how does the administration protect workers from liberal policies like the Green New Deal? Leavitt smiled as if this was a golden opportunity. Thank you for the great question. Trump's administration protects workers by prioritizing energy independence and cutting stifling regulations. A Green New Deal, which Ms. Swift supports, could raise electricity prices by 30% per the American Energy Institute, burdening workers. We boosted oil and gas production, creating over 10 million jobs, and kept fuel prices stable. That's how we protect Americans. The audience applauded, mega supporters standing to cheer. The host turned to Swift. Miss Swift, your response? Swift stood, her eyes showing slight tension, but still trying. Karoline, I understand you want to protect jobs, but the Green New Deal creates millions of clean energy jobs. I've met young activists, and they say we need to act for the planet, but Swift's argument lacked data, and the audience whispered as if expecting a stronger rebuttal. Leavitt smiled, requesting a rebuttal. Taylor, you talk about clean energy jobs, but for the Department of Labor, they pay less than oil and gas. You met activists, but do you have data proving the Green New Deal won't hurt workers? The audience laughed loudly. Swift blushed, unable to respond. The host invited the final question from a neutral young woman. What do both of you think about women's roles in politics? Swift answered first, her voice emotional. Women need to be heard from the stage to the White House. I want young girls to see they can change the world. Leavitt responded, her voice firm. Taylor, I agree, but women don't need a stage, they need action. I'm here, the youngest press secretary, proving women can lead with truth, not just emotion. The final round ended as a stage lights of the great American debate dimmed. The audience's thunderous applause echoed as if the studio had just witnessed a championship boxing match. The large screen shifted to #Leavitt vs. Swift, with posts like Karoline just knocked out Taylor, and Swift needs more practice. The host, still full of energy, strode to the center, raising the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a historic debate. Thank you, Miss Swift, Miss Leavitt, and all of you. The crowd stood cheering, light sweeping the audience. One side held Swift for unity signs, the other Leavitt leads banners. A camera caught Taylor. Vogue called Swift a spark of inspiration, stressing she motivated millions of youths to engage in politics. Swift fans on X fought back with #TaylorFightsBack, sharing clips of her unity and true speeches. A fan wrote, Taylor may have lost a debate, but she won our hearts. Yet even fans admitted Swift needed better preparation. A widely liked post read, Taylor, bring data next time. That night, Swift posted a lengthy Instagram caption with a photo of her on stage. Today was a big challenge. I stepped into the great American debate to speak for what I believe, women's rights, truth, and our planet. I may not have won every argument, but I learned a lot. Thank you, Karoline Leavitt, for a fierce debate. And thank you all for listening. We keep fighting. The post garnered millions of likes with fan comments like, Taylor, you're our queen. But some neutrals commented, you need data, not just emotion. Swift scrolled comments, her eyes pensive as if planning her comeback. The next day, Leavitt appeared at a White House press briefing, still confident in her blue suit. Asked about the debate, she smiled. Taylor Swift was a formidable opponent, and I respect her for stepping up, but politics needs truth, not just emotion. I'm here to defend Americans with data and action. When a reporter asked about a rematch, Leavitt laughed. If Taylor wants him, always ready. The quip went viral, cementing Leavitt's image as a rising political star. Trump posted on Truth Social, Karoline Leavitt made mega proud, a huge win. Her team celebrated, an assistant whispering she just made history. The debate wasn't just an event, it became a cultural phenomenon. Universities held discussions on women's roles in politics, using Leavitt and Swift as examples. Professor noted Leavitt represents logic and policy, Swift represents emotion and culture, both inspire in their own way. On TikTok, clips of Leavitt's jabs at Swift went viral, while Swift's fans made videos praising her courage. The debate sparked controversy over media coverage. Some criticized Breitbart for bias toward Leavitt, others felt CNN was too soft on Swift. An X-Post summed it up. The Huffington Post called it a battle of emotion versus reason. The debate's impact lingered for weeks. Leavitt became an icon for conservative women, invited to numerous shows. Swift, though defeated, solidified her image as a courageous challenger. Power both left marks, but Leavitt was a clear winner, earning the nickname Swift Destroyer. Online, the debate wasn't just a war of words, it symbolize polarization and potential unity. Leavitt, with her sharpness and humor, proved conservative women can lead with logic and data, solidifying her place in the MAGA movement. She became a role model for young people entering politics, with ex-posts calling her the White House's new fire. Swift, though not victorious, inspired millions with her courage and passion, reminding us that emotion and culture can drive change. Her Instagram post, admitting defeat but urging continued fight, was widely shared, with comments like, "Taylor, you're always our guide." The event raised a bigger question: how can politics and pop culture harmonize? Leavitt stood for truth and action, swift for emotion and ideals, both in their own ways, encouraged youth to join critical discussions from women's rights to misinformation to climate change and ex-post. Sum it up, Leavitt won the debate, but Swift won hearts. Both are needed. The debate inspired school workshops where students discussed women's leadership, using Leavitt and Swift as examples. Looking ahead, Leavitt may continue shining in Trump's administration with potential for bigger roles. Swift, with a learning spirit, may return to the political arena better prepared, ready to challenge with both emotion and data. The debate reminded us that truth and emotion, logic and passion, are all vital for a better society. Leavitt and Swift, each in their way, inspired us to listen, debate, and act. Which side are you on? Think and speak up, because the future belongs to those who dare to speak the story. Karoline Leavitt hilariously destroys Taylor Swift on live TV. Reflect today's political and cultural polarization in America, where conservative and liberal views clash in public debates. This showdown, held at the Great American Debate, highlighted real issues like women's rights, misinformation, and climate change, showcased through Leavitt's sharp arguments, using data on jobs, electricity prices, and Swift's passionate emotion, calling for equality, environmental action. The explosion of #Leavitt vs Swift on X and polarized media reactions. Breitbart cheering Leavitt, CNN defending Swift, reflect how American social media and journalism amplify division. Leavitt won with logic and humor, but Swift inspired with courage, showing both sides have value. The lesson from this story is, in a polarized society, listening and learning from both sides, reason and emotion, is key to meaningful dialogue. Americans should emulate Leavitt's thorough preparation, using data to argue like energy stats, but also empathize with Swift's emotions, like when she spoke of young women seeking role models instead of letting X or media shape thoughts. Join community discussions, verify sources, and find common ground. As both Leavitt and Swift want a better future by blending truth and compassion, we can overcome division, creating real solutions to issues like gender equality or the environment, as both figure spirits convey. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to catch more fiery debates like Leavitt versus Swift. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video with more surprises.